without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may not be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of this meeting, please join by phone at 1-650-733-9196, PIN 856-318-835#.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Alderperson Robinson.
Present.
Hurt.
Here.
Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Pulis.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
And Mayor Tomes.
Here. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Public comment. Nobody has signed up for public comment. Is anybody virtual? Anybody virtual for public comment? Tim says no. Thank you. I wasn't looking back there. I do have one, just to make a statement real quick, is that we'll be doing the State of the City speech update on January 9th. We'll be doing it at noon with the Kiwanis Rotary combined meeting, and then, of course, that council meeting that evening. So just as a reminder to people, that will be coming up. All right. Item number 7.
Minutes from the November 21st, 2022 City Council Budget Session.
Motion to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Item number 8.
Minutes from the December 12th, 2022 City Council meeting.
Move to approve the minutes as printed.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
All right, item number 9, update Rock Island. A couple items. Join the city of Rock Island as it celebrates the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Martin Luther King Jr. Center will host the 40th annual memorial service and award celebration in honor of Dr. King on January 16th from 10:30 a.m. to noon. KWQC TV 6 news anchor Redrick Terry will MC the event with the keynote address by the Quad City Chamber CEO, Dr. Ladrina Wilson. The King Center is requesting nominations for the I Have It a Dream Award, which will be presented to the Rock Island citizen for exemplary community service and contributions made to the community. Nominations are due by January 6th. Kick off 2023 by picking up some great book bargains. The Rock Island Public Library will hold its monthly book sale on Tuesday, January 3rd, at the Southwest Branch Library, 9010 Ridgewood Road, from noon to 3. Proceeds will benefit special library projects. Bald Eagle Days returns to the QCCA Expo Center. Birds and wildlife enthusiasts can flock to the QCCA Expo Center in Rock Island from January 6th through January 8th to witness birds of prey from the Wild Bird Sanctuary of St. Louis and other live animal presentations. Holiday closings. Rock Island Public Libraries and City Hall will be closed Friday, December 23rd through Monday, December 26th. Library will also be closed Friday, December 30th through Monday, January 2nd. City Hall will be closed Monday, January 2nd. And that's it for that. Thank you very much. Item number 10.
An ordinance adopting the budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023, second reading.
Motion to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item number 11.
An ordinance for the levy, assessment, and collection of property taxes for the city of Rock Island for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023, second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item number 12.
An ordinance for the property tax levy of the Downtown Special Services Area, SSA, providing $310,613 in property taxes for collection in the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023, second reading.
Move to pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Nay.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 13.
Claims for the week of December 2nd through December 8th, 2022, in the amount of $796,967.96. For the weeks of December 9th through December 15th, 2022, in the amount of $945,827.44. And payroll for the weeks of November 28th through December 11th, 2022, in the amount of $1,584,984.38.
Motion to allow the claims and payroll.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker. Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 14.
Public Works Department regarding a bid for consulting services to create a nutrient assessment reduction plan for the city's 2 wastewater treatment plants, recommending a contract be negotiated with Geocinetic Consultants of Oak Brook, Illinois.
Move to authorize city staff to negotiate the contract for consulting services.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Item 15.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a bid for yearly maintenance from 2023 to 2026 on 6 pump engines for the wet weather treatment system, recommending the bid be awarded to Craft Power Corporation, Gaylord, Michigan, in the amount of $182,493.54.
Motion to award the bid and authorize the city manager to execute the contract documents.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 16.
Report from the Public Works Department regarding a local agency agreement and resolution with the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, to make improvements to the pedestrian curb ramps on US 67 15th Street between 2nd and 5th Avenues.
Motion to approve the local agency agreement and adopt the resolution and authorize the mayor to execute the documents.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Item 17.
Report from the Finance Department regarding bids for actuarial evaluation services, recommending the bid be awarded to Lauterbach and Amen, Naperville, Illinois, in the amount of $23,380.
Move to award the bid for the fiscal years ending December 31st, 2022 and 2023 with the option to renew annually through 2026.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy. And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 18.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding a renewal of an intent to sell letter for Gorman and Company of Oregon, Wisconsin, setting the price for the entire Solomon site at $60,000 with a 2-year term ending on December 31st, 2025.
Motion to approve the new intent to sell letter subject to minor attorney modifications. Authorize the city manager to execute the letter and authorize staff to negotiate a price agreement for the future council consideration.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Miles, Can you provide us an update on that project? It's been a little while, and of course, recognizing whatever confidential information needs to stay that way, if there is any.
Yeah, as the memo discusses, one of the things that's been kind of drawing this whole project out is that IDA has been changing its application process for housing tax credits. And housing tax credits are an important part in the funding model for this project. At this point in time, we've kind of worked with Gorman to figure out kind of what additional information needs to be pulled together as part of the new application process. That includes a collection of site readiness kind of activities, as well as some community planning documents that they are working on. So basically, we're teaming up where we're going to handle a lot of the physical groundwork stuff, so do some survey work, do some environmental remediation, and also bring the site up slightly so that it's out of a ponding area, so a low point in the ground, while they work on some specific community planning activities. They've also been in contact with the West End Renaissance consultants to kind of talk through how those two things actually can work together really well to make their application for tax credits in about a year's time stronger than it was before. So it's still kind of on the right track. It's just that there are more steps on this journey than we first thought there were going to be, again, because of the changing nature of the application process.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, also, as the memo states, and as the map in this packet shows, staff have also finished acquisition of the lower block. So the city is now in ownership of a slightly better layout of a site, and so Gorman also needs a little more time to shift the ultimate layout of their proposed development.
Yeah. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 19.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department regarding an amendment to the annual action plan recommending the allocation of $163,791.29 in remaining Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus or CDBG CV funds be allocated to Friendship Manor, 1209 21st Avenue, Rock Island.
Move to approve the disbursement of the remaining CDBG CV funds to Friendship Manor and authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a grant agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Can I just ask how this came up? Was there a application process, or how do we finally get them up into consideration?
Yeah, so let's wind the clock back to the dark days of the early pandemic. These funds are dispersed to a number of different communities, and those different communities find different ways to then disperse those funds even further down the chain to businesses and others in need. In this community, we chose to do small business assistance grants. We ended up doing 2 rounds of those, dispersing them out to different entities and businesses who had suffered impact from the pandemic. So we're talking about operational costs, including their rent and mortgage payments, utility payments, salaries, and that sort of thing. The way that the CV money was set up, you were supposed to, within a 2-year period, spend down 80% of what you had received. When staff hit the 80% mark about a year ago, we came here and asked the council what the next steps would be and kind of what interest there was for the remaining 20%. That remaining 20%, there's several more years out that we have to spend it. The council directed staff to take a pause on using any more of the money until another need presented itself. The discussions around use of ARPA funds did prompt a return to kind of discussions around the CV money. And the question that sort of staff is posing through this is basically the following. Given that as time goes on, and we move, hopefully, ever further away from the pandemic and its effects, it will actually become harder and harder to use this money because it'll be harder and harder to demonstrate a connection to the pandemic when someone comes forward with a need. It just so happens that someone has come forward who is still experiencing high level of impact from the pandemic, and we can clearly document that that's the case. So there's kind of a two-way street here. The city needs to expend these funds, and the longer it waits to do so, the harder it's going to be to do it. There's also a major entity and employer in the community that has been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic and is still being disproportionately impacted, who could use these funds very well. We're confident that they can provide us with all of the documentation that we need to prove that this is money well spent. We also, as council is aware, are pulling in new resources, not just ARPA, but from IDA for housing rehab. And the staff bandwidth to manage all of these different funds is limited. So this is something that's time sensitive that we do need to get out the door. So that is how that happened. There's not necessarily an application that has been filed, simply a strong expression of interest.
How do we narrow down this particular entity?
It's been the only one that's come forward in the last year that has been eligible.
Have we asked anyone else, though? Because I understand that this particular organization made a huge pitch for the ARPA funds, so I mean, it was public. I'm pretty sure if others knew that we had $160-something thousand, you probably would have got more interest. Did we make that visible or available to everyone else that, hey, we do have extra funds that's remaining from this pot of money? Submit something, project, or however you were impacted. That is my only concern, that we didn't do that, and then we settled on this.
In a way, bringing this forward is staff asking for some direction from the council on what they feel is appropriate uses for this money, because the last thing we were told is to just take a pause.
Right.
So we took that pause. A year has gone by, and now only this one thing has presented itself. Staff will do as the council wishes, but staff does hope to get some clear direction. At this point in time, staff is recommending that this would be an excellent way to spend out the money, and it would be a very much eligible use of the money that we can clearly document.
I guarantee.
But if the staff, if the council has a strong opinion to do something else, staff is listening.
Well, I would like to echo the comments made by Alderperson Robinson. While I agree, I think it's a worthwhile cause. My concern is that, again, it was not presented, like you said, they presented with this, but others weren't given that opportunity. Well, again, I understand it's time sensitive, and then I look back and I think, what was the dollar amount that was allocated? And I know Liz talked about businesses that left Rock Island, and I'm sure if they would have said, hey, it was a $20,000 grant, I'm sure that they could have used that, or other businesses that have left. I mean, I think it's just the optics of it don't look good. I'm not disputing the need by Friendship Manor. That's not, I just don't like how this kind of, they presented, but nobody else still had that same opportunity. I'm just giving you my,
They did, I mean, once again, we gave out a good number through Forward.
that's not what we're saying.
And so people knew that it was out there. Started out with, once again, this entity didn't come asking for this monies directly. They came looking for ARPA.
No, that's
and
not
others.
true.
But this was discovered after they approached us.
Well, we just have to listen to what we just heard. There was a pause set by council, and then now we're about to allocate 163. So from the pause, when did it come back to council, say, hey, we're ready to start moving forward on this again? Do we have some people who possibly, how do we want to proceed? Do we want to, put an announcement out? Do we want to, use our resources to try to get some people interested? It just seems like it went from a pause to, we had an entity that, made a proposal for ARPA funds. It didn't work with the ARPA funds, so we're giving this to them instead. That's what it just looks like, without having anyone else involved, because I'm guarantee you there's other businesses that would have applied for this. And I mean, I get it, we've had this for a while, but if we said that there was a pause, and then now out of the pause, we already picked the person, we picked the entity. I'm just trying to get out of the habit of us doing this. We don't have nothing in place, and it's hard on staff because they're put into this situation where they have to now come up and explain this in a public setting.
I got to say, I don't think you have to have everybody apply and offer to everybody to have an opportunity. It is a place for the council, the staff to be able to recommend a specific project, and for the council to give it to a specific project without being opened up to everybody. Every issue we have does not have to be opened up to everybody to apply for or talk about. The council has the right to be able to specifically call them out.
So when did council make
and-
the decision to go this direction?
We'll see what the vote does, and if we do decide that.
It should never
yes.
be on the agenda then. If we have to make you know what I mean? It shouldn't come up on the agenda and then we make a vote. It should be a discussion that we have. Hey, what do you think? I mean, I'm just saying. We
yeah.
need to get to a place where we have something in place so we can protect our staff and we can protect us, because when we get questioned, hey, how did that business get chosen?
Yeah, and once again, and they explained a little bit how it got, to a certain degree, got chosen. It is a major employer in the town. It's a major, and they employ a lot of individuals that could be at risk if, without continued support from the city, there could be a risk of what their growth pattern is in Rock Island. So,
Again, Mike, we're not
not saying
disputing the
anything
fact
about
that
that,
they
yeah.
couldn't use the money, and I just feel like sometimes we pick and choose what we go through a application or a putting it out there process, and then it was like, well, we pick and, we just kind of like randomly, well, this thing, we're gonna go through this process, this, we're just gonna hand it out. So, again, not diminishing the need by Friendship Manor or
No.
or even giving them the money. I just feel like
We'd like to have some consistency in place where we can,
that's
because it's
fair.
hard for me when I'm having town halls and I'm talking about funds and stuff like that, and I have small business owners that are coming to these meetings and they're requesting help. But if we have something in place, when we said we have a pause, so I'm not gonna talk about it anymore, but now, when we vote on this and they hear that, well, we did have 160-something thousand, where was that available? So, I mean, it just puts us in a tough place sometimes. Same thing we did with the tourism, with the ARPA. We have things that's randomly coming up that we have to vote on instead of having something in place so we can have something to fall back on when we're questioned. That's all I'm saying. It's nothing to do with Friendship Manor, nothing at all. It's
I
more
think-
about the process in place.
Yeah, I think that's a fair critique, and honestly, this is
Yep.
a conversation that we've had for a long time at this table about CDBG money as a whole, just the process of how we identify how CDBG money is allocated. Similar complaints about not only coronavirus CDBG money, but just CDBG money, of how we're making the decision of how we're spending that money from HUD. And frankly, I think staff has done a wonderful job with the proposed, I can't remember if we've adopted it yet or wherever we're at in the timeline, but with the new CDBG
There's so much going on.
program
So much
manual,
going on.
program manual or whatever the heck it's called. Anyway, the point is with this new CAC that we will be, or CDC, my mistake, and we're going to be voting on, the point being that I think staff has identified that this is a problem, and we are working towards developing better systems in place. Now, this is unfortunately timed. I would agree that it would have been nice to have these CDBG processes in place prior to doing this. I mean, I intend on voting yes, because I have similar concerns that the further out we go, the more likely that this money is going to go nowhere. And so that's not to say, my yes vote is not to say that your points are invalid. My yes vote is simply to say, we got to do something with this money. It sounds like staff is responding to our general suggestion that we should develop better policies and program manuals. And so hopefully in the future, we won't have this problem.
No, this is the reoccurring theme with the city. We wait to the last minute, and then we have to rush to do something. We wait to the last minute with our facilities, and we have to rush to do something. It's just a continuous theme that we need to change. That's it.
Hey, Miles, how much money was initially available?
Oh, gosh, I can't remember the full amount.
879,000?
Yeah, because what you're looking at here is roughly 20% of the original.
And you said we did 2 rounds, so how many businesses would you guess?
Total, I don't recall.
Okay.
A lot, though. And one of the things that I think we should be proud about, because I think it was the right thing to do given what the money was, is these were just grants. Okay, other communities actually developed these loans that they had to then track the money come back in through repayment. We just gave it out. The other thing that I just want to emphasize, because I don't know about you folks, I'm trying to block out the pandemic as much as I possibly can and not think back to it, but if you think about that total amount and how rapidly it was deployed here and how many businesses, I'll have to look up the full number. did receive assistance when they needed it most. I think we did a very good job of doing that. The other thing about making decisions around the process for doing all of this with the CV money, because again, this is one-time money, this is weird money. This is not money we'll see the likes of again, hopefully, fingers crossed, in response to a pandemic. The ability of us to make really robust decision-making processes in the midst of that crisis was limited. It just was. If we're, in a normal time and we receive a windfall of money, we can go through processes like the ARPA process, where there was a longer conversation about how it should be responsibly used, with ample input from a lot of different parties. So this question about process is one, as Alderman Parker points out, staff takes seriously. And we are, as you can see from some of the other things we're doing lately, taking steps to get better. But this particular pot of money came about in a real pinch. And I think all things considered, the processes that staff did develop were good ones.
And Friendship Manor did not get any of the other grants, did they?
I don't believe they did.
Okay. And I do understand, we need to tighten up our processes and all of that. I am going to vote yes, because I do feel that the money is warranted to go there, simply because they are still in pandemic mode. They are still having to mask. They are still in instances limiting visitors. If someone tests positive, if a resident tests positive, they're testing everybody. If a staff member tests positive, they're testing everybody. And I don't really think there's any other business in town that is still under those restrictions. And additionally, as things seem to be ramping up with a variety of airborne illnesses going on, they are being mandated to go back in time where other businesses aren't. So while I do agree we need to tighten up our processes and have applications, and I do know this is a one-time money, I do feel that they have been disproportionately affected, more so than really any other business in town, simply because they are under mandates that few other businesses are still under today.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'd like to do a roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
No.
Motion carries.
Real quick, Friendship Manor would like to come up, just make a quick statement. And
Hello, I'm Heather Stancliffe. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales at Friendship Manor, and I just wanted to thank you all for the use of these funds. We have been and continue to be affected, and we really, really appreciate this. Thank you.
thank you. Item number 20.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department requesting approval to purchase the former Bear Manufacturing Building located at 2016 Fifth Avenue from Rock Island County for the purpose of future demolition and redevelopment of the site. First reading.
Move to approve the purchase, authorize the city manager to execute the purchase agreement, consider, suspend the rules, and pass the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Moses, where were you at on this, man?
Oh, I was gonna let him do it. Testing period for everybody.
Yes.
I just have a
Alderman
comment. So, the city could potentially be on the hook for $175,000 to $200,000 in demolition costs, because there is a tremendous safety issue here. But in the future, for these kinds of properties like this, perhaps there could be some negotiation with the county to, instead of charging us by their frontage formula, just sell it to us for $1. Could be, a lot of costs for the city, and we really don't have much choice, because a disaster if the wall falls.
I agree if that option's out there. Of course, they're speaking in some cases, you can do that for the schools and everybody else. That
Doesn't
would be
hurt
getting-
to ask.
You're correct. You're correct.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, Miles, I had a question. So we've talked about this building quite a bit. And previously, presuming it passes, it was not owned by the city, so there was limitations on who could access the building. Now, obviously, there are interests from the private sector on owning this and potentially, redeveloping it. Is there opportunity for the city to provide some type of access to interested, developers to see exactly the extent of it and whether they could take it on?
I was going to say, it has been posted as dangerous by the building official, which means that no one should enter it because they might quite literally fall through the floor and die. I mean, it is that dangerous. So I would defer to the legal team to offer additional comment.
I would think that it would not be wise, but there may be other options possibly. I know there are individuals who can use drones, and I don't know what, if they could film inside, if somebody was interested, that type of thing, where you wouldn't have a person be at risk. You probably know the technology better than I do, because just because.
I'll fly the CED drone right through that building for you, Dave. Yeah, no, I would say that in the packet that council has, there's approximately 40 photos.
Oh, yeah.
That is a small sample of the photos that were actually taken. I tried to just put in some of the highlights. Anyone who wants to see all of the photos is more than welcome to. I think that they paint a real clear picture of the conditions. Again, I kind of just tried to do a highlight reel for you, but I think altogether we probably in the last few months have taken 250 photos of all of the different problems from every angle and multiple types of light. So I would offer those to anyone who wanted to see it. They're usually they're bracing. I mean, it would be difficult for me to imagine a developer not being able to make a judgment call based on those photos.
As long as the opportunity is presented for the private sector to consider, And sounds fair to me.
If not, you can come get my drone and fly it in there.
If people had a legitimate interest in redeveloping the property, we would work with them to try to evaluate it, but it is in poor condition.
The end goal, of course, is to try to intervene and then let the market take it from there, right? So like the situation that we have here, as the memo describes, is that something is being caught in the cycle of abandonment. So it's really at a place right now where the market cannot do anything. The city can intervene and stop that cycle, and then take some steps to kind of reintroduce the site to the private market, because that's ultimately who needs to develop it. The city's role is to intervene where the market can't, and then let the market take it from there.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hertz.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 21.
Report from the Community and Economic Development Department requesting the dissolution of the Citizen Advisory Committee and the establishment of a Community Development Commission. First reading.
Move to approve the dissolution of the Citizens Advisory Committee and establish the Community Development Commission, and suspend the rules, consider and pass the ordinance.
Second.
She was the clerk, that's why she.
That's right. But moved to second, discussion. I gotta say, Miles, I don't know if you want to answer, an audience asked me a question a minute ago, but the board members that are on the CAC right now, do they automatically roll over to this? Do they stay on there? Do we start from scratch on nominating board members?
Yeah, so just a little background for anyone who might be watching. The basic idea here is to replace the Citizens Advisory Committee, which right now, if you read the ordinance, is incredibly narrowly focused on gaming grants, which we have not had for a while, and replace it with a Community Development Commission, which is actually more broadly focused on helping advise and manage our community development block grant money, okay? So we can have a commission hold the public hearings for the annual action plans, make recommendations to you. It can also represent constituencies that benefit from those funds and give input to staff about what kind of programs we should have give input on how those programs are performing, all those sorts of things. Plus, if gaming funds become available again, the council can task this body with helping with that in whatever form it sees fit, along with any other similar opportunities that come about. There is some overlap in the kind of membership requirements between the two groups, though they're not exactly the same. If you look carefully at the actual ordinance that you are considering tonight, Section 3 of it does recommend, or does say that the members of the CRC are invited to apply for membership to the Community Development Commission. So obviously, the mayor, you can appoint as you see fit. If there are folks who are on the CAC now who would like to serve on this new body and they meet the membership criteria, I think they should be invited to apply, and if that makes sense, the council can then appoint them following your recommendation.
I think this is a good opportunity to start getting new blood on our commissions. We have way too many rollovers.
And the CAC in its current form, a member here can confirm for me, I don't believe it's met since 2019.
That is correct. I can
Yeah.
confirm that, yeah.
So giving it this broader focus, and kind of reimagining it to help with the CDBG program is really the goal here. It's so limited, now with the gaming grants that the CAC has no real function at this point.
All right, so just to clarify, for existing CAC commissioners, or whatever the term is, do they have to reapply for the CDC, or are they invited to, but they don't have to?
They're invited to, is what the ordinance is written as. And again, the idea here is that in the same way that all boards and commissions are appointed by the mayor with the consent of the council, this would follow through the same way. So if there are folks on there now who would like to serve on the new body, I think the appropriate thing would be to go through, we talked about process earlier, the same process. Because it's also an opportunity to open it up, as Alderwoman Swanson highlights, to new members who might be interested in serving for the first time.
But if there are CAC members who want to apply for the new one, there are now new membership requirements that they have to meet?
So the former body had 7 members. This one has 9. It also asks that 3 of the 9 are just residents in low to moderate income areas. The other 5 positions, or 6 positions, excuse me, for 9? Oh, my math is so terrible. The others. Those are folks who are supposed to broadly represent nonprofits and agencies with a focus on assisting low to moderate income people. So that's broadly written. Again, like a lot of our commission memberships, it's up to kind of the mayor and the clerk's office to solicit applications for membership. The mayor can then, of course, vet those candidates and make recommendations to the council.
Is there going to be applications online?
I see it as being exactly the same as all our other boards and commissions are, and
absolutely
there
awesome.
are applications for all of them.
Perfect.
Sarah will post a Facebook and
Next
a
question.
announcement on our website, and then there will be the online application.
Yeah, so opening it up, making people aware we made this change. If folks who are on the CAC now are interested in serving again, they can just apply again. If new people are interested, they can apply too.
Will you be notifying the old members?
That's my intention, working with the clerk's office, basically to send them a notice saying that this change has occurred, and that if they would like to continue to serve on the new body, they are welcome to apply to do so. Again, part of the reason for getting this in now before the end of the year is because, believe it or not, the annual action planning process is rolling right back around. It comes every spring, so we want to get this body in place, get them kind of a CDBG orientation underway, and then get them engaged in that process of planning.
And can members of the city council or the public attend these CDBG primers?
As a board or commission of the city, it is a public body per the Open Meetings Act, and you may attend.
Any further discussion? Let's do a roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy. And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 22,
Report from the Fire Department requesting approval to allocate American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds in the amount of $106,609.77 for battery-powered extrication equipment.
Move to approve the allocation of $106,690.77 of ARPA funds for battery-powered extrication equipment.
Second.
Moved to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Item 23.
Report from the Parks and Recreation Department requesting approval to allocate American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds in the amount of $600,000 for the new clubhouse at Highland Springs.
Motion to approve the allocation of $600,000 of ARPA funds for the Highland Springs Clubhouse project.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy. Robinson.
Aye.
Item 24.
ARPA budget adjustments. A, report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment for the Rock Island Fire Department, increasing the ARPA Fund 248 expenditure budget for CY 2022 by $106,690.77. B, report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment for the Parks and Recreation Department, increasing the ARPA Fund 248 expenditure budget for CY 2022 by $600,000. And C, report from the Finance Department regarding a budget adjustment for the Parks and Recreation Department, increasing the ARPA Fund 248 expenditure budget for CY 2022 by $254,967.47.
Motion to approve the budget adjustments A, B, and C as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
Item 25.
Report from the Human Resources Department regarding a general wage increase for unaffiliated employees.
Move to approve the general wage increase in the amount of 2.75% for non-affiliated employees.
Second.
Yin yang. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Nay.
Parker.
Aye.
Pulis.
Nay.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 26.
Report from the Mayor and City Clerk's Office regarding a resolution to extend the moratorium on vape shops with the city through March 31st, 2023.
Motion to adopt the resolution as recommended.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah. So, why, I guess explain that date. I mean, why is it that many months? Can it go out further? Can it go out? I guess where did that number come from? Where'd that date come from?
Miles might want to expand on it, but we had the work session and discussed it, and we feel comfortable that we can put together the additional research and answer the questions posed by council in that time frame.
So if you recall the time frame that was presented in those slides, it ended in February. And the reason that it was that long a time was so that it could go first to the Planning Commission, having put out enough public notice and whatnot to talk about that zoning amendment, and then it would have come to the council at their next meeting. There seemed to be some additional questions, having had this discussion in the chamber about some of the details of what exactly wanted to be done. And obviously, as the city manager alluded to, there are some questions that we want to make sure that we answer first. So basically, what we've put it back by is one meeting cycle for the Planning Commission. That's really what that is. So that provides a comfortable amount of time for us to get some of those additional answers back to council members, get, again, some additional policy guidance from you, make sure you're comfortable with our approach, and then have enough time to go through that zoning code amendment process.
Just asking to make sure you guys are confident that that's the time frame that's necessary as opposed to coming back and extending it out again, so.
Obviously, we'll try to work to get some of the questions that were asked here after that presentation answered, and we'll take the lead from you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Parker. Pulis.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Item 27.
I have an issue. So
Business.
I think it was last year, we put up, no trucks allowed on 7th Street. off of 7th Avenue going towards Dorn Trucking. Numerous trucks are forgetting or just passing by that sign and not thinking. The concern the residents have is that we have wires that are going across that street. A couple of trucks have actually pulled those wires down. So this is an ongoing issue we have to find some kind of resolution with. 7th Street and also on 4th Avenue. So, and I know they're supposed to go around, but they don't. So the shortcut is to go down these streets to get to the trucking. I know some of the residents have actually talked to Dorn Trucking. It's not Dorn Trucking, it's not the employees. It's the other trucks that are coming in for deliveries or whatever. So is there, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be an ongoing thing, but it's something that I wanted to bring forth and see if we can do to try to help the residents in that area. The streets are getting tore up,
Yeah,
worse than,
Chief might want to comment on it, but we can certainly work on some additional enforcement.
I was forwarded an email from a resident that lives down there, and forgive me, I can't remember her name, super nice lady. Talked to her actually twice about this. I got brought up to speed when the council had passed this and made the trucking down there. No truck route across 7th Street between 7th to
I think it's
5th
4th.
Avenue.
5th, okay.
Okay. I actually called Dorn and talked to their fleet management, whatever his title is, and they got the information, said, hey, yes, we will make sure this gets out to our trucks. I got a call from this lady that lives down there asking for a little bit of follow-up. Apparently, the trucks were still doing that. So I actually went down there. She wanted to have an additional sign posted, and I actually have pictures of it because I drove down myself. There's one over on 5th Avenue, but it's, again, on the right side for cars traveling that would be going southbound. She was wondering, can we put a sign on the stop sign? Because when they're pulling out from under the overpass of 92, maybe they can't see the sign until it's too late and they've committed.
Right.
So I was actually going to reach out to Public Works about doing that. It's just adding one more sign. Maybe that can help. When I drove down to look at it, actually saw a truck drove by, and I stopped it myself, right in front of Dorn. It was not a Dorn truck. It was one of the service delivery trucks that was actually servicing that area. I spoke to the driver. He was just unaware. He said, I think he wasn't paying attention. There's signs posted at both sides. Again, getting that information out. I actually had a couple officers sit and do traffic just to make sure that no other trucks. I haven't followed up with her since, but she hasn't reached out to me. I know it's still occurring on occasion.
Right.
What's happening also, you have to understand too, is some of these trucks, from what I've been told, they're following Google Maps or
GPS is taking
GPS,
them
and it's taking that route. The problem is Google doesn't know, and if they're using just a standard app where you're driving like your car, if they're using specific to their truck, that, hey, this is an area that's prohibited, then I would assume it would reroute them. It's supposed to go to 9th Street, go down 9th Street and cut back. So we're working on it. It's just one of those things that, as far as the police department goes, we don't have so much time to sit down there and watch, but.
Don't we have a minimum height requirement for overhanging wires?
Yeah, I would think that there's a minimum, but I haven't heard anything about wires being pulled down. I'm not saying there hasn't, I just hadn't heard that. Her biggest concern was the roads getting torn up because you have these heavy trucks going through there, and also because of the narrow parking, I think, on both sides, she's concerned about, I think one of her son's cars had a rearview mirror taken off.
Well, when I initially, brought it forward and we actually got it signed to get the signs up, that's what happened. One of the cable lines, the cable is lower than the actual power.
Right.
So they ripped the cable out from like 3 houses. So that was the issue. And it's still continuing because one of the residents that lives on 4th Avenue came to my house today and mentioned it, so.
My understanding is there's a way to provide feedback to those mapping services to avoid things like this.
Again, if you're just using your phone and it doesn't know you're driving a truck, it's not going to keep you off that route. That's the problem. It's just taking them from point A to point B. And that's my assumption, is that they're just using their phone and standard Google or whatever they're using for traveling. Again, if they're using something that's specific to the truck like Dorn has or something like that, those are, hey, this is a truck and it knows to avoid those areas.
Yeah, most of those truckers are not supposed to use, they call it commercial, not commercial, consumer type GPSs. It's supposed to be a commercial, which actually details all of that. So if you look at like any of the charter buses and the semis, they have a commercial GPS that they have to use because it goes more detailed than the residential or consumer one.
Yes. So,
Presuming that they're gonna be watching it, because evidently they don't do that in Davenport.
I mean, we had the same problem when I was on the Arsenal.
That
We
bridge.
had people that would come through the wrong gates because that's the way the GPS would take them. I didn't know if there was, you know, what we can do to help, but I know it's gonna be more of a concern as the snow and the ice starts coming, because they're moving down those streets, so.
okay,
Thank you, Chief.
no problem.
Real quick, Moses, you asked and talked about people making delivery toward the West End and that sort of thing. And I've made some calls. I haven't got everybody called yet, but I've got 2 of the 3 that I had primarily. And one has said that chances of them would be slim. He'll revisit that geographic area, but probably not.
Is that just because of outside is too far away from their
No.
business? They just don't want to do
It
it?
was a security issue. And I said, hey, today's a new day. You don't live in the past.
Security issue? Okay.
Yes.
Anyone that lives on the West
I'm just
End,
telling you- I'm
know
just
what I'm
telling you the
getting at.
answer.
If they will deliver up to 11th Street, but you won't go past 11th Street for a security issue, half our shootings are on 14th and a half, and
I understand. I had explained that stuff to him.
Okay.
Believe me, I pushed and explained and everything else and said, you know, he cited a couple instances. I said, when were those? Well, quite a while ago. I said,
Oh,
well,
definitely.
come on. And he says, I doubt it, but we'll consider it.
I appreciate it, though.
And the other one is corporate made the decision, or regional people made the decision, so local didn't have anything to say about it. So now I'm trying to reach out to them and have not gotten a response yet
Okay.
from the regional or corporate office out in Ohio.
Okay.
And the third one I have not been able to get hold of yet either. But-
I definitely appreciate it. Like I said, the list I gave you, that was just my personal.
Right, and
list.
that's why I'm just starting with
Yeah.
that and working there and seeing what I can accomplish. But
Okay.
that's the story at this point.
And then I just want to ask a question. Have we followed up at all with Metronet?
Moses, who else will report on that? Moses?
Yes, we did. We had a meeting with them last week. So they gave us an update on their proposed construction area, and they were so excited that they were going to start working in this area that they've already been working in. Our ward still isn't included in that. They don't have a timeline as far as when that's going to happen, but the mayor brought up a point when we were on the call that they just signed an agreement with Moline to do the entire city. So we kind of pushed that back on them. Well, you have this agreement that you signed with the city of Moline, and they kind of gave the typical response. Well, we got to look into that to see what the particulars are. But the mayor definitely, voiced his concerns about we should be the priority because we signed the agreement a lot earlier than Moline. And again, it was for a compartmentalized part of the city. So we're playing that game with them now.
There was a learning experience with them, with the lady that we talked to, when she did some digging in. She goes, she found 75 requests or work orders or whatever it was that she didn't even see right off the bat. She had to do some digging and.
She got it from the construction manager.
Yeah, she had to go around her normal routine of where to get it and talk to the construction people, and they said, oh, yeah, we've got these. And so she learned something that wasn't out there to the general public and even her. So she's continuing to work on it. It seemed like she had concerns and was considerate and concerning our thoughts and ideas,
Yep.
and opened up the two-way communication to continue the discussions.
Yep, and she did provide a link for the residents to sign up for service who are interested. So I'm going to distribute that out to make sure that people get that. But from what she identified or sent us as far as the map for future, it still did not involve any of that. It was just the areas that are already currently in the process of having service, already have service. So it's still going to be a while.
Could you send that link out to all of us?
I sure will, yes,
'Cause I have someone on 9th Street who,
And could we put that on the Simplicity?
definitely.
Just put the link there on the Simplicity Act, or.
Yeah, we could certainly
app,
do that.
And that way people have the access to go as a resource.
Because what it sounds like is they have to see if it's cost effective for them to come into that area. So I think that's what the sign up is for, to see how many people potentially will sign up for service, and then they can go back to their team and see what it looks like as far as bringing the lines down that way.
We'll put the link out there, but essentially if you go to, I think it's metronet.com, it'll say, it'll have an area where you can check to see if service is available. And if it says no, when you put your address in, then you can sign up to be notified when it is available.
Yeah, it's pretty much like what you do for MediaCom when you want service. Put in your address and it'll say if you already have service there, or if they have a service there. If not, it'll say that we'll put you on a list and let you know when we'll update. That's pretty much what it is.
The one problem we did, and if I will follow up on, it, is this idea of they didn't really have a good grasp on where people had signed up for service. And under their contract, they're obligated to provide service if so many signed up in a certain area. Well, they're not gonna provide it if they don't know where they're at. So we'll continue to talk to them about that and
Yeah,
make sure.
what is the city's agreement? Is it a franchise agreement? Is it a development agreement? What is?
Franchise, 10-year.
Such a franchise, because I thought those franchise agreements with those types of companies stopped. I remember when
Yeah.
our MediaCom one, the state took away the franchise.
It's very
or something.
similar in nature to a franchise agreement, but they are regulated under the state law, but it does outline specific information about where and when they'll provide service. And the issue is, on the west side, in some other areas, they have this area where they're not obligated to provide service unless so many people sign up.
And what type of, for the lack of a better word, enforcement mechanisms does the contract actually have, you know?
Yeah, well, that's part of the challenge. If we can't identify who's signing up that they're not serving, how can you enforce it? So that's what we're working through with them and trying to get a better handle on where people have signed up.
Weren't we the first ones to sign with them?
On the Illinois side.
They have some fairly, it's been a few months, maybe a few weeks since I've read it, but they do have some pretty specific, this number of people within so many feet of where we provide service.
Right.
So as you could always, if they did not perform, you could ask that they specifically perform that, because it's a unique, and at least in my opinion, Hector, I would think that this is a unique enough situation, service, where specific performance would probably be something that would be an option. I don't know what your thoughts on that are. But there are definitely, if you look at the agreement, you can see parameters that say if this number of people,
10 or 15 within.
I was thinking 10 or 12, yeah.
Within a certain, it gives like a 1,200-foot radius of the trunk, as they describe it in the agreement.
Right, and I agree that this is, because it's competing with a monopoly effectively for the first time ever, it is unique enough that specific performance would be required, but I think the city manager is correct that determining when you have those 10 or 12 people that have signed up, that's a practical difficulty that
Right.
it
I
has to
think a
come first
precursor,
before
yeah.
enforcement.
So the precursor would be to get those people, identify them, and then obviously and notify the other party to the contract that says, hey, here are these folks, and this is what the contract says, and we're asking you to do what the contract says you're going to do.
And if you don't like us asking, we'll ask somebody else to tell you.
Hey, Judge.
We need to try and find out who's signing up, besides they sign up with MetroNet, but to let us know so we could track it ourselves, or
I mean,
no?
they were just walking by at my house and saying, hey, would you sign up? Oh, here.
Well, if you had specific, wherever the information comes from, I don't know that you have to specify you don't have to specify where the information comes from, but if you had, say, citizens that come in and say, here are 10 of us, we got together, we saw the link that you put out on the Facebook, or not Facebook, I'm sorry, on your website, and here are 10 of us, and we can show you that we're within so many feet, and there's the trunk. I think that then you send the notice out and you say, hey.
I think that's gonna be the hard part for us in the west end, though, because they don't have a trunk in the west end. That was the question I was trying to, get from them. How do we identify where a trunk is? I mean, I understand, I know where the trunk is, but they have to give me the location of where the trunks are, so then I can get the people.
And I don't think that would be an unreasonable ask, to send a letter to say, listen, we just want some clarification on where the trunks are located. They sure ought to be able to tell us, I would think.
Mike, did they provide any kind of as-built to us or anything?
We have not received any yet.
Will they give them to us, though? I mean, are you anticipating them?
Request them.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it. Real quick, I also want to, with that, is there also said you can apply for, if you cannot afford the full rate and everything else.
That's
They
true.
did have a program for those that, financial assistance.
I think it's like $10 or $15 or something like that.
I can't remember. You might be right.
It was really cheap.
Yeah, it was. So they did to offer that, And I don't know if there's a way to apply online or whatever with that. I can't remember, she was doing a link, I think, with that, she was gonna send.
I think it was some kind of income guide, qualification.
I can't remember what all that was, but they do offer it, and so that is out there that we need to help people pursue.
Because I brought up the point that, you know, we have families who can't afford internet service for their kids, or, you know, people are working at home, so that's when she brought that item up.
Correct.
Well, couldn't Sarah put all this information together in something and we push the word out there?
Sure.
Yep, we can do that.
Anything else for the good of the cause, the other business?
Yeah, just a quick shout out to our Rock Island first responders who showed up to the this year's Christmas event out at Walmart this weekend. Great turnout. Love to see all the officers and the police and fire showing up. And I don't know who had more fun, the officers or the kids. But anyway, it was great to see you guys. So good job. Continue it.
Yep, thank you. Anything else? Item 28.
Closed session. 5 ILCS 122C11 litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding must be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. 5 ILCS 122C21, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purpose of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06.
Motion to go into closed session for the exception cited.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderperson Hurt.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Poulos.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
And Robinson.
Aye.
We are in closed session.